This is Complex Made Easy with Dezan Shira Associates in partnership with Laytons ETL.
For the full-time work scheme, the standard statutory work hours are 8 hours per day and 40 hours per week. When it is necessary and reasonable to work overtime, the extended work hours per day shall not be more than 3 hours, and the accumulative extended work hours per month shall not be more than 36 hours.
Employees and workers are protected from overwork by what are called the working time regulations, which were originally a European measure, which was then brought into UK law many years ago and is still in the statute books. In essence, there are limitations on working hours. An employee is not expected or required to work for more than 48 hours a week in any work period. There are special rules about night workers and the amount of work that should be carried out over a period of 6 months. So where there are shift patterns, then those shift patterns have to be examined and considered. But in essence, that's the limitation. There is the ability to opt out of the 48-hour working limit. That limit is one which is often opted out of by employees and employers, but the employee has the right to rescind that opt-out. It's not often the case, I think, that employees have to work more hours than 48 in a week, but nonetheless, it is possible to ensure that they do opt out, and more senior employees, people who have the ability to control their own hours, so director level employees or senior managers don't have to adhere to those regulations at all. The requirement to give employees 20 days holiday and 8 days statutory bank holidays as leave is one which is also imposed by the working time regulations, and it is quite a complicated set of rules, because where people are sick or pregnant or indeed in some other cases they have the right to bring those holidays forward from year to year, but it's a highly complicated area of law and requires quite a lot of advice and careful consideration if there are issues.
If an employee is arranged to work overtime on regular work days, the compensation should be at least 1.5 times his normal wage for the overtime work hours. If an employee is arranged to work on rest days, for example, Saturdays and Sundays for most cases, or other ought-to-be rest days for this employee, the employer should arrange such employee to take compensatory leave in future work days. If it is impossible to arrange compensatory leaves, the compensation should be at least 2 times of the normal wage for the overtime work hours. If an employee is arranged to work during the statutory holidays, for example, National Day holidays, China New Year holidays, the compensation shall be at least 3 times of normal wage for the overtime work hours. Please pay attention that when talking about the compensation of 1.5 times, 2 times, and 3 times the normal wage, these compensations have already included the normal wage that the employee should be paid. Please do not mistake them as compensation on top of normal wages.
Overtime is not frequently paid for in the UK. There are certain industries where overtime is required because of the antisocial hours that are required to be worked, or excessive hours, of course always subject to the 48-hour working limit unless it's been opted out. There are employers who will pay overtime, so they'll pay time and a half or double or even treble, but it's not very common, but it is something that occasionally does happen. The other area where one comes across overtime is in a slightly different context. Often employers won't necessarily pay overtime, but will give time off in lieu. So if an employee's worked a weekend, they'll sometimes say, well, rather than paying you overtime, we'll give you an extra 2 days of time off in the week. And that's another way of compensating the employee for having had to work unsocial hours or weekends.
If you are interested to learn more about Dezan Shira, you can visit us at dezshira.com. And if you are interested to learn more about Laytons, you can visit them at Laytons.com.
The UK.Ireland desk at Dezan Shira Associates assists British businesses with market entry, legal, finance and HR in Asia. For expert advice on employing people in China or UK investment into Asia, contact us at UK.Ireland-Shira.com. To stay up to date with the latest investment news into Asia, visit and subscribe to asiabriefing.com.